Today on Sugar Spun Run, we'll be making my favorite blueberry coffee cake. Hey Sugar Spun Bakers, Sam here, and today I am so excited to be sharing another carefully tested and well-researched recipe. This blueberry coffee cake is similar to the classic recipe I have on my blog, but with a few subtle differences that really let that blueberry flavor shine. I think you're going to love it, so let's go ahead and get started. Before we begin, don't let me forget to tell you to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now in a large mixing bowl, we're going to combine 1 stick or 1/2 cup of unsalted butter. You want this to be softened. We'll also add 8 ounces of softened cream cheese, 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar, and just 1/4 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. Now, there are a few subtle differences in the sugar I use here and in my traditional coffee cake. If you hop over to the blog post, I have a whole explanation on why I make these changes. Now, I often make this recipe in my stand mixer, but because I want you to really see what the batter looks like, I'm going to be using my electric mixer today. We are going to cream everything together until it's all smooth and well combined. Next, we'll add 2 large eggs and just a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We'll stir everything together again. At this point, I like to grab my spatula and just make sure I'm scraping the sides and bottom of the bowl because I don't want there to be any hidden lumps of cream cheese or bits of egg that didn't get nicely combined. All right, well, everything looks good here. So now let's grab a separate bowl where we're going to combine our dry ingredients. We're starting with 2 1/2 cups of all-purpose flour, and we'll add 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 3/4 teaspoon of salt. Just whisk everything together until your ingredients are well combined. Now before we go any further, you're going to want to measure out 1/2 cup of buttermilk. Buttermilk is one of my favorite secret ingredients to use. It's going to make this coffee cake so moist and flavorful. Now bring back your butter, cream cheese mixture, and we're going to alternate adding our dry ingredients and our buttermilk. I usually add the dry ingredients in about 3 parts, and after each addition, I will use my electric mixer to stir until everything is just about completely combined, and then I will add my buttermilk in 2 parts, obviously alternating with the dry ingredients. Now this is a really stiff batter. That's completely normal, so don't freak out. And of course, you are going to want to pause periodically just to scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl again. Now, of course, we need our blueberries. We are going to be adding 2 heaping cups, probably closer to 2 1/4 cups of fresh blueberries. Now, you don't want to use your electric mixer here because you don't want to smash your berries, so just use your spatula to carefully fold everything together until those blueberries are well combined into the batter. Now this batter is just about ready to bake, so I'm going to go ahead and pour it into a lightly greased 13x9 baking pan. Now I'm using a metal pan. If you are using a glass dish, it is most likely going to take you longer than the time indicated to cook your cake. And again, don't freak out, the batter is supposed to be stiff like this. So if you'd like, you could bake your coffee cake just like this, maybe sprinkle some granulated or coarse granulated sugar over the top. But to me, coffee cake isn't coffee cake unless there is a really thick streusel layer on top. So we're going to be making some streusel. We'll start with 1 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour. We'll add 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of firmly packed light brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt for flavor. I'm just going to be using a fork to stir all of these ingredients together. Now the next thing you're going to need is some melted butter. You need 10 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. Now you don't want this to be too hot or you could end up melting your sugar and you could end up with just a runny, greasy mess for your topping. We're going to pour this in, and again, I'm just going to use my fork to stir everything together. You don't want to mix everything vigorously or you're going to end up with a paste. As you can see, I'm just kind of tossing the ingredients together with my fork, almost kind of just folding them together. A lot of streusel recipes like to use cold butter that they cut into the mixture instead. I feel like this is so much easier and it yields more flavorful results. So your streusel should be nice and crumbly, so just use your hands to break that up and crumble it evenly over the top of your blueberry coffee cake batter. All right, now we'll pop this in our preheated oven where it's going to need to bake for about 50 to 60 minutes, maybe even a couple minutes longer, so keep an eye on that. And I recommend using the toothpick test to tell if it's done. Now in a perfect world, we would let this coffee cake cool before we dig in. So I've given it about 15 minutes, which really isn't long enough, but I don't have the patience to wait any longer because it just smells so good. So we're gonna go ahead and dig in now. And that is how you make the best blueberry coffee cake. Look at that soft, tender crumb, those juicy berries, and that thick layer of streusel. I really think you're going to love this, so please let me know what you think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. That's good.